Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today by asking you to just check in with a very specific physical sensation.
Okay.
It's something I think every single person listening right now feels deep in their bones, and you probably feel it every single time you reach into your pocket or, pick up your phone.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's that tightness in the chest, that sensation of just drowning. You know the feeling.
Oh, yeah. The deluge.
The notifications are pinging, the breaking news banners are flashing red across the screen, the unread emails are piling up into the thousands, and there's this immense, just crushing pressure to know everything, to be on top of it all.
It really is the defining condition of the modern age.
Mm.
We're dealing with an absolute flood of input. It's like an attention famine caused by an information glut.
An attention famine, that's good.
And the natural human reaction, the one we're all socially conditioned to have, is to try and drink from the fire hose. We try to keep up. We try to read it all.
You have to, or it feels like you have to.
But today, we're going to explore a really counterintuitive solution. We're going to look at a concept called selective ignorance.
I have to admit, when I first saw that term in the stack of research you sent over for this deep dive, my first reaction was, well, it was hesitation. Actually, it was more like resistance.
I get that. The name itself is provocative.
It really is, because
Yeah.
we're raised from grade school all the way through our professional careers to believe that knowledge is power. We're taught that to be a good citizen, a good employee, even a good parent, you have to be well informed.
Right.
Ignorance is usually an insult. It implies you're not smart or you're lazy or you're, sticking your head in the sand. So are we really suggesting that people should be ignorant?
We are, but with that very specific, very important modifier, selective. We need to clarify this immediately because the semantics here really matter.
Yeah.
This is not about stupidity.
Okay.
It's not about general ignorance, which is just not knowing how the world works. It is not about being unaware of reality. It's about strategic attention management.
Strategic attention management.
Think of it this way. And this is a metaphor that popped up in our Gemini source material, which I just loved.
Yeah.
Selective ignorance is like putting on noise-canceling headphones for your life.
Oh, I love that image. Unpack that for me.
It's perfect, isn't it? I mean, think about why you wear noise-canceling headphones. When you put them on, you aren't trying to go deaf. You're not trying to disconnect from sound entirely.
No, you're trying to hear something specific.
Exactly. You are deliberately blocking out the ambient hum, the distractions, the construction work outside, the traffic, specifically so that you can hear the music or the podcast or even the silence that you actually want to focus on.
Right. You're curating your audio environment.
Selective ignorance is the exact same mechanism, just applied to your intellect. It is the deliberate choice to ignore the irrelevant so you can focus your full attention on what actually matters.
So the mission for today is pretty clear then. We want to help everyone listening move from that frantic state of FOMO, the fear of missing out, to something much calmer, something the sources call JOMO.
The joy of missing out.
The joy of missing out. We are going to treat attention like a finite, high-value currency.
Exactly. Because that is precisely what it is.
Yeah.
And that brings us right to the core philosophy here. We have to start with a mindset shift. You mentioned attention as currency. We need to really, really unpack that.
I do.
Because most of us spend our attention like we have an unlimited supply, like it's printed money during hyperinflation.
Yeah.
But we really don't. You have a very limited amount of cognitive bandwidth every single day.
Okay, let's unpack this because I feel like I spend my attention, like I'm at a dollar store just throwing it at whatever shiny thing catches my eye.
That's a great way to put it.
If a headline has a question mark, I click it. If a notification buzzes, I look. I am like generous to a fault with my attention.
Most people are. We are attention philanthropists for things that absolutely don't deserve our charity.
Yeah.
But let's look at the research. There's a distinction made in the sources, specifically referencing the philosophy of learning, between two types of information consumption. There is just-in-case learning and just-in-time learning.
Just in case versus just in time. This sounds like manufacturing logic applied to the brain. Break that down for me.
It is exactly that. Just in case. Learning is, well, it's hoarding. It's reading a tutorial for software you don't own yet. It's memorizing facts about a management style when you don't manage anyone.
Right, just in case I need it someday.
Exactly. It's reading 5 different opinion pieces on a geopolitical issue in a country you don't live in, just because you think, well, I might need to have an opinion on this at a dinner party someday.
Guilty.
It's cluttering your brain with information because you tell yourself, well, I might need this later. It's the mental equivalent of having a garage full of rusty parts because you tell yourself you might fix a classic car one day, even though you don't even know how to change a tire.
I feel attacked. That is literally my browser history. I have tabs open right now for sourdough starter recipes. I haven't bought flour in 3 years.
Yo, dear.
I have tabs open for travel guides to places I haven't booked tickets for. It is all just in case.
We all do it. And the reason we do it is that it feels productive. It feels like work. You tell yourself, I'm learning, but you aren't. You're just stacking boxes in a warehouse that's already full.
So what's the alternative? The just-in-time.
The alternative is just-in-time learning.
Mm.
This is where you consume deep dive information only when you have an immediate actionable use for it.
So using the sourdough example, I shouldn't read the article until the flour and water are actually on the counter in front of me.
Precisely. Because when the flour's on the counter, you have a container for that information. You have a problem to solve right now.
Okay.
You're going to use it immediately, which means you will retain it, and it will transform from just data into an actual skill. If you read it 6 months before you buy the flour, it's just noise rattling around in your head, taking up valuable space that could be used for something else.
It keeps the mind clear.
It does. And there's a quote from the Gemini source regarding this mindset that is just, it's devastatingly good. It says, your brain is a luxury hotel, not a public landfill.
Oh, wow. Your brain is a luxury hotel, not a public landfill. That hits hard.
It really does.
It implies a certain level of, exclusivity, a standard.
It does, doesn't it? Think about the operational model of a luxury hotel. If you ran the Ritz-Carlton, you wouldn't just let anyone wander in off the street, trailing mud, shouting at the top of their lungs, and crash on the velvet sofas in the lobby.
No, absolutely not.
You would have a doorman.
Yeah.
You'd have a velvet rope. You would be extremely picky about who gets a room.
Right. You curate the guests to maintain the atmosphere, the entire experience.
But with our minds, we have no doorman. We have no velvet rope. We leave the front door wide open.
We just let anything in.
We let any piece of celebrity gossip, any rage-inducing clickbait, any random factoid walk right in and take up residence in the penthouse suite. And then we wonder why we feel exhausted and dirty and, just cluttered at the end of the day.
So we need to be the concierge.
We need to start acting like the concierge at that hotel. We need to be elitist about our information.
That is such a powerful way to frame it. You have to be picky about who gets a room. But here's the challenge, and I think this is where people get stuck. How do we decide?
The big question.
Because sometimes the trash looks like treasure. Sometimes the noise is dressed up in a suit and tie and it looks like important news. How do we distinguish the signal from the noise?
That is the million-dollar question. And the sources, specifically ChatGPT, offer a really good filter for this. You have to distinguish signal from noise based on 2 key things: shelf life and actionability.
Shelf life and actionability.
Signal is information that is based on timeless principles. It's high-leverage skills. It is information you can actually act on to improve your life, your work, your position. It has a long shelf life.
Okay, give me a concrete example. Contrast the two for me.
A classic example would be finance. Let's say you read a book on the fundamental principles of capital allocation or asset diversification.
Okay, Warren Buffett book or something.
Exactly. That is signal. That information is timeless. It applies today, it applied 50 years ago, and it'll probably apply in 50 years. It helps you build a long-term strategy.
Right. It's a foundation.
But checking your stock prices 17 times a day,
yeah.
watching the ticker go green, then red, then green again, that is pure noise.
It's emotional noise, too. It's just up, down, up, down. But it feels like you're doing something, though. It feels like managing your money.
It perfectly mimics responsibility. But the minute-by-minute movement is totally irrelevant to the long-term result. All it does is consume a massive amount of your cognitive energy and emotional bandwidth.
Okay, what about another example outside of finance?
Or take the news. Celebrity drama. Total noise. The outrage of the day on Twitter. Noise. These things are designed to be sticky, to hook your attention, but they aren't useful.
They expire.
They expire faster than milk. If you read a news story today, it's completely irrelevant next week. It was noise. A high-quality signal should still be useful in a month, a year, a decade.
It reminds me of that point about the emotional component of information. One of the sources brought up the Stoics, specifically Marcus Aurelius.
Yes, the Stoic connection is so vital here. Marcus Aurelius was writing about this thousands of years ago, long before smartphones, which tells you this is a human problem, not just a tech problem.
That's a great point. It's not the phone's fault, it's our brain's fault.
It's our brain's wiring. The Stoics believed you have absolute control over what you expose your mind to. That information isn't just taking up storage space, it's taking up emotional bandwidth. It competes for your cognitive clarity.
Emotional bandwidth. I like that term. It explains why I feel physically exhausted after scrolling through Twitter for 20 minutes, even if I haven't done any physical work.
Precisely. Because your brain processes that information as threat, as conflict, as social positioning. It burns glucose, it triggers a stress response.
It's work. It's mental labor.
It is. And so here's the rule. If a piece of information increases your anxiety, your envy, or your anger,
Right.
and this is the key part, it doesn't offer you a solution or a way to act.
Then it's just poison.
It deserves ignorance. It is stealing from you. It's taking your peace of mind and your energy and giving you absolutely nothing in return but cortisol.
So if we're going to protect this luxury hotel that is our brain, we need to put the guests on a diet.
A very strict diet.
Let's talk about the low information diet.
This is a term popularized by people like Tim Ferriss and others, and it appears across almost all our sources. It is the practical application of this philosophy, particularly when it comes to news and media.
And this is the hard part for people, breaking the breaking news addiction. Because we are wired to feel like if we don't know what's happening right now, we were somehow unsafe.
The lizard brain kicks in.
It really does. I think there is a genuine fear that if I stop watching the news, I'm failing as a citizen. So practically speaking, how do we actually stop watching the news without feeling like we're abandoning our responsibilities?
You have to start by challenging the core assumption. The assumption is, breaking news matters to me personally.
Which feels true.
But the expert analysis here is blunt. Most of it doesn't. Most breaking news has zero impact on your actual life or your ability to be a good citizen.
That's a bold statement. Zero impact. I can hear listeners pushing back on that, saying, but what about elections? What about wars? What about a pandemic?
And those are valid points. So let's distinguish between events and coverage. The event itself matters. The 247 breathless, speculative coverage of the event does not.
Ah, okay. That's a key distinction.
Think about the last month of breaking news banners you saw flash across your screen. Be honest. How many of them actually changed a decision you made that day? How many of them changed how you did your job or how you treated your family?
Almost none. Probably zero, actually. It was just spectacle. It was people speculating on what might happen.
Exactly. It's spectacle. It's what the sources call manufactured urgency. The entire media industry is built on a business model that requires you to be in a state of low-level panic so that you don't change the channel.
So what's the tactic? How do we break free?
The tactic is to switch from a continuous drip feed to a batch process. They call it the weekly batch.
Okay, the weekly batch.
Instead of scrolling feeds every hour or having the news on in the background, you switch to reading a single weekly summary or a curated newsletter. You pick one time a week, say Sunday morning for 30 minutes, and you catch up then.
So you get the same information, just calmer and all at once.
You actually get better information because the noise filters itself out over a week. If a story was just a 24-hour outrage cycle, by the time you read your weekly summary on Sunday, it won't even be mentioned. Why?
Because it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. You're letting time be your filter. You're letting the editors of that weekly summary do the hard work of separating the signal from the noise for you.
There's a specific question one of the sources suggested we ask ourselves as a filter. I really liked it. It was, will this information change my behavior or a decision I need to make today?
It's a ruthless question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Will this change my behavior today?
It really is.
If the answer is no, you can safely ignore it. If a hurricane is coming towards your house, the answer is yes. You need to evacuate. Watch the news. Get all the information you can.
That's actionable. It changes your behavior today.
But for a gaffe a politician made in a speech, does that change what you do at 9 a.m. at your desk? No, it doesn't. So you can wait until Sunday to read about it, if it's even still relevant then.
But what about the social fear? The fear of looking stupid at a dinner party? Or just that feeling that something massive is happening and I'm the last to know? That feeling of being the odd one out is powerful.
It is powerful. And that brings us to the concept of delayed information. We have this ingrained fear that late information is useless information. We have to be first.
The first to know.
But here's the truth, and this is a key insight from the sources that creates a kind of safety net for this whole philosophy. If something is truly important, really truly critical to your life, you will hear about it.
You mean I don't need to find it, it'll find me?
It will find you. The network effects of important information are incredibly strong. Your friends will text you.
Did you see what happened?
Your family will call you. Your colleagues will mention it in the break room. The really big stuff, the stuff that actually impacts your safety or your job, it bubbles up. It rises to the surface.
So you don't need to be the first to know.
In fact, being the first to know usually just means you are the first to be misinformed because the initial reports are so often wrong.
That is so true. The fog of war in breaking news is real. We spend hours trying to figure out what happened, and then 2 days later, the official report comes out and corrects everything we thought we knew.
Exactly. So waiting actually makes you better informed because you get the verified, settled version later.
This all relates to that fear of being out of the loop.
Which is really a fear of social exclusion.
Yeah, and it's incredibly liberating to just let go of that, to just be comfortable saying, I don't know, tell me about it.
Think about how you feel when you get to tell someone news they haven't heard.
I feel important. I feel like I have something of value to give them.
Exactly. People love explaining things to you. It makes them feel smart and in the know. So you can leverage their addiction to the news to save your own time. Let them do the scrolling, let them wade through the swamp of misinformation, and then you just ask for the 30-second summary.
That's a great hack. You're basically outsourcing the research to your social circle. Okay, so we've tackled the news. But what about the other monster in the room? Our digital lives?
The personal fire hose.
Yes,
Oh, I
the
see.
inbox, the notifications, the algorithms. This feels more personal because it's our device, our accounts.
This is where we have to get into what the sources call aggressive curation. And when I say aggressive, I mean ruthless. You cannot be polite with your digital inputs.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because most of us are incredibly passive with our digital inputs. We just let the algorithm feed us whatever it wants. We sign up for things and then never leave.
And that is a fatal mistake in the attention economy. You must be a gatekeeper, not a sponge. The algorithms are designed by some of the smartest engineers in the world to maximize one thing: engagement.
Not my well-being.
Not your well-being, not your happiness, not your productivity. Engagement. And what engages us? Junk food, outrage, fear, envy. Those things keep you clicking. So you have to take control back.
What are the actionable steps here? Because take control sounds nice, but what does it look like on a Tuesday morning when I'm staring at 5,000 unread emails?
It starts with one beautiful button: unsubscribe. And I don't just mean the obvious spam. I mean ruthlessly cutting newsletters you don't actually read.
Oh, this one is hard.
It is,
Yeah.
because we often subscribe to things because of who we want to be. I want to be the kind of person who reads about ancient philosophy every morning, but you never open them.
It's aspirational clutter. That's what that is.
That's a perfect name for it. If you find yourself deleting an email without opening it 3 times in a row, unsubscribe. You are just creating mental friction for yourself. You are creating a tiny, recurring task, the task of deleting it every single day.
It's that just in case hoarding again, right? I might want a coupon for this store someday.
Exactly. Let it go. Then you move to social media. Mute and unfollow are your best friends, and you have to be strategic. Specifically, you want to target accounts that trigger those negative emotions we talked about: envy, anxiety, outrage.
Even if it's a friend, that feels harsh.
Even if it's a friend, you can mute them. They will never know. It's a silent act of self-preservation. If your friend's feed makes you feel bad about your own life, you have a responsibility to yourself to turn down the volume on that input.
Okay, that makes sense. Protect your own headspace first. And what about the idea of trusting filters? Because if I mute everyone and unsubscribe from everything, I might become isolated.
This is about limiting your inputs to just 2 or 3 trusted sources rather than 50. Instead of drinking from the fire hose of the entire internet, find a couple of voices or publications that you genuinely respect. People who value accuracy over speed and nuance over outrage.
And you stick to them.
You stick to them. You let them do the heavy lifting of sorting the world for you. You are essentially appointing them as your personal editors.
I like that. It's about delegating the filtering process to people you trust. Now, let's talk about the inbox specifically, because for a lot of people, the inbox is just a to-do list that other people create for them.
It is. It's a machine for generating other people's priorities in your life. The strategy here involves using technology against itself.
How so?
Use filters aggressively. If a newsletter comes in, have a rule that automatically skips the inbox and files it into a read later folder.
Oh, I like that.
That way, when you open your email to do work, you aren't immediately distracted by reading material. You only see what requires an actual action or a reply. You separate processing from reading.
And turning off notifications.
That is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
If you want to reclaim your attention, notifications have to go, all of them. Email, social media, news alerts, Everything.
Even text messages. Some people would panic at that idea.
For many people, yes. Or at the very least, hide the preview so you don't get sucked in by the first line. The goal is to reduce the volume to only what requires immediate action. Your phone should not buzz unless the building is on fire or your spouse is calling from the hospital.
Wow.
Everything else can wait until you consciously choose to look at it. You decide when to engage, not your phone.
I did this recently. I turned off the badges, the little red dots with the numbers.
Yes, the anxiety dots.
Life-changing. I am not exaggerating. I didn't realize how much low-grade stress those little red dots were causing me until they were gone. I kept checking my phone for the first day just to make sure it wasn't broken because it was so quiet and clean.
They are designed to cause stress. They are red for a reason. That is a danger color in our evolutionary history. They're designed to scream, "Look at me," incomplete task, threat. Removing them is a huge step toward JOMO.
There is one more area of digital hygiene we need to touch on, and that is the outrage of the day. Social media seems to cycle through a new main character or a new villain every single 24 hours.
It does. It's a content machine that runs on outrage. And the expert advice here is to learn to avoid opinion overload.
Opinion overload.
We have to realize that modern media, especially social media, sells opinions, not facts. It's a marketplace of hot takes.
It really is. Everyone has to have a take within 10 minutes of an event. If you don't have a take, you're invisible.
And consuming all those takes is exhausting. We need to distinguish between primary sources and interpretation. The host perspective here is crucial. Reading an actual annual report, the primary source, is, frankly, boring, but it is useful. Watching 12 YouTube videos about the annual report, where people are screaming and making surprised faces in the thumbnail, that is entertainment, not education. Direct is better than interpreted.
And there is a great phrase for dealing with all this drama. Not my circus, not my monkeys.
I love that phrase. It's a Polish proverb, I believe. Ni mordshuk, ni mijomobi. Not my circus, not my monkeys.
What does that really mean in this context?
It's a powerful reminder. If you cannot influence the outcome of a situation, you do not need to be an expert on the drama surrounding it. If you can't fix it and it doesn't directly impact you, you don't need to give it your precious attention.
That is so freeing, just realizing you don't have to have an opinion on everything. You can just opt out. You don't need a stance on the scandal of the week.
You can. You can just let the conversation happen without you. And you save so much energy.
Okay, so we've cleaned up our personal lives, we've muted the drama, we've unsubscribed, but now we have to go to work. And this is where people get really nervous.
Right. The stakes feel higher.
Because selective ignorance at work sounds like a great way to get fired. If I tell my boss, sorry, I'm engaging in selective ignorance, that conversation isn't going to go well.
It does if you do it wrong. But if you do it right, it's actually the key to high performance. It just requires a shift in how you define your value at work.
So how does this apply to the office? We can't just ignore our bosses.
No, you absolutely cannot ignore your boss.
Yeah.
But you can and should ignore the non-essential. This goes right back to just in time versus just in case.
How so?
At work, we often attend meetings just in case something relevant is said. We read every company-wide email just in case it affects us. We sit in group chats all day just in case. We call this performative busyness.
Guilt-charged attendance. We want to be seen being busy.
Exactly. But the tactic here is to start saying no to input so you can say yes to outputs. The first step is declining meetings where you aren't essential.
That's scary for a lot of people.
It is. But if you are just there to listen, you can ask for the recording or the meeting notes afterward. Frame it positively. To give my full attention to Project X, I'm going to skip this one, but please send me the key takeaways.
So you're showing you're still engaged, but you're protecting your time for a higher priority.
Precisely. What about those massive group chats? Slack, Teams, Discord. They are relentless.
Oh, they're the worst. It's a constant stream of consciousness from a dozen people.
Skipping group chats that don't concern you is vital. You do not need to read every thread in the general channel. You do not need to read every announcement if it doesn't directly impact your role. You have to get comfortable with the idea that you might miss a joke or a minor update in exchange for getting 3 hours of deep, focused work done.
It's about being results-oriented rather than presence-oriented.
That's the perfect way to phrase it. And you can leverage others as filters here, too, just like in your personal life. You don't need to be the expert on everything. Identify the subject matter experts in your circle.
Give me an example of that in a work setting.
Okay, let's say there's a new tech trend, like a new AI tool everyone is talking about. You could spend 5 hours researching it, reading articles, watching videos, setting up a free account, and fiddling with it.
Which is what most of us would do.
Or you could go to the developer on your team or the person in IT who's a known geek and say, hey, what's the real deal with this? Is it hype? Give me the 5-minute summary.
That is so much more efficient. You are basically outsourcing the research to someone who has already done it and probably enjoys it.
And they're usually happy to share. It builds a relationship. You are trading their depth of knowledge for your time. You respect their expertise, and they respect your focus. It's a win-win.
There is another aspect of work that came up in the sources that I found fascinating, specifically regarding competition. They called it strategic unawareness.
Yes, this is so counterintuitive to traditional business thinking. We're often told to know the competition. Business schools love SWOT analysis.
Right, keep your enemies closer.
But obsessing over your competitors' daily moves is a massive distraction. It's looking sideways when you should be looking forward at your own path.
It's like running a race. If you keep looking at the guy in the next lane to see how fast he's running, you slow down.
Exactly. And you might trip. Focus on your own fundamentals. Focus on your own customers. That is deep work. Watching what your competitor tweeted 5 minutes ago. That is a distraction.
So strategic unawareness means accepting that you might be less informed about the gossip or the trivia in your industry than others in the room?
Yes, but you are more focused on your own results.
And that takes a lot of confidence.
It does. It requires the confidence to say, I don't know about that, and not feel small, because you know why you don't know, because you were busy building something that actually matters.
So we've gone through all these strategies. It sounds great, but I can hear the skeptics. This raises an important question. Is this dangerous? Can we go too far with this?
A very important question.
If I ignore everything, don't I just become negligent? If I ignore a health symptom because I'm practicing selective ignorance, that's really bad, right?
Yes, and this is probably the most critical distinction we need to make. We must distinguish selective ignorance from negligence. The Gemini source provided a fantastic breakdown of this.
Okay, let's look at the comparison. What is the fundamental difference?
It comes down to two things, purpose and target. Selective ignorance is intentional. Its purpose is to preserve focus for deep work and peace of mind. The target is irrelevant news, social media gossip, and busy data.
Okay. And negligence.
Negligence is accidental or, more often, avoidant. Its purpose is to avoid responsibility or reality. And the target is critical information, things like bills, health issues, serious relationship problems, or your core job duties.
Right. So ignoring a celebrity scandal is selective ignorance. Ignoring a weird pain in your chest is negligence.
Exactly. Ignoring the comment section on a YouTube video is selective ignorance. Ignoring an email from the IRS is negligence.
That's a very clear line when you put it that way.
The impact is the other big differentiator. Selective ignorance, when done right, reduces anxiety and increases your output. Negligence always increases stress and creates crises down the line. If you ignore your bills, you eventually get a crisis. If you ignore the news for a week, you get peace.
There's another risk that was mentioned, specifically by Copilot, the risk of creating an echo chamber.
Yes. Right. This is the main danger on the other side. If you filter too narrowly, if you only listen to sources that confirm what you already believe, you can disconnect from reality.
You trap yourself in a bubble.
You trap yourself in a bubble where you never hear a dissenting opinion, and you start to believe that your narrow view is the only view.
So how do we avoid that while still being selective? It seems like a contradiction.
The solution is in the quality and variety of your selected sources. The goal is not to have one source, but a small number of high-quality ones.
Okay.
You don't need 50 sources to be well-informed. You need 2 or 3 that approach things from different intelligent angles, but do so with integrity and a commitment to facts.
So diversity of perspective, but simplicity of quantity.
Correct. You're curating for truth and intellectual challenge, not for comfort. If your chosen sources never challenge you or make you think, you have curated poorly.
Okay. We have the philosophy, we have the tactics, we have the guardrails. Now let's talk about how to actually start.
The practical first steps.
Because for a listener who is currently addicted to their phone, who feels that phantom vibration in their pocket, this might feel like climbing Everest.
It can be daunting. Absolutely. So we suggest starting with small experiments. Don't commit to a lifetime change today. Just try an experiment.
I like that. Low stakes. One of the suggestions was the one-day info blackout.
Yes. This is a great entry point. Challenge yourself and the listener. Pick one day, maybe a Saturday, to stay off social media, news sites, and non-essential email. Just one day.
And what's the point of the exercise? What happens?
You observe, you pay attention to the fear, you pay attention to the impulse to check your phone. The first few hours are hard. You might feel bored.
And we're so scared of boredom.
We are. But boredom is good. Boredom is where creativity comes from.
Right.
But mostly, at the end of the day, you observe what you actually missed. And the prediction from the sources is you will miss nothing of consequence.
Spoiler alert. The world keeps turning without you refreshing it.
It does. And usually, if you did miss something important, a 30-second catch-up with a friend or a quick glance at a headline the next morning fixes it completely. You realize that the cost of your ignorance was zero, but the benefit to your mental state was huge.
Okay, for the brave souls out there, there's a more extreme version mentioned, the 5-day cold turkey.
This comes from the perplexity source. This is for when you need a hard reset, no news. Minimal internet strictly for work or essential tasks. Your leisure time comes only from fiction, music, or the physical world.
That sounds intense. That sounds like rehab.
It basically is. But what it does is it breaks the dopamine cycle. It forces your brain to relearn how to be bored, how to be quiet, how to generate its own entertainment.
It's like a fast for your mind.
That's the perfect analogy. After 5 days, when you go back to the internet, you see it differently. You see how loud and aggressive and needy it is.
I think a lot of us need that, just the detox to reset our baseline.
And one final piece of advice on how to start. Automate the process. Do not rely on willpower alone. Willpower is a finite resource, just like your attention.
So design the environment for success.
Yes. Keep the phone outside the workspace. Literally, put it in another room when you need to focus. Buy an old-school alarm clock so you don't sleep with your phone next to your head.
Get it out of the bedroom.
Use website blockers on your computer during work hours. Make it hard to get distracted. If you have to physically get up and walk to another room to check Instagram, you probably won't do it. If it's in your pocket, a single twitch of your thumb, you will.
Friction is your friend here. You want to add friction to the bad habits and remove friction from the good ones.
Precisely. Don't fight the urge, remove the trigger.
Okay, let's bring this all home. We have covered a lot of ground today. We've gone from the luxury hotel of the mind to the low-info diet to being ruthless with our inboxes and embracing just-in-time learning.
It is a journey. And I think the synthesis here is really important for people to hear. We are not telling you to bury your head in the sand. We are not telling you to stop caring about the world.
No, in fact, it's the exact opposite.
It is. We are telling you to protect your energy for what matters, so you have the capacity to care effectively. In the information age, wisdom is not knowing more. We have access to infinite information. Knowing more is cheap.
So what is wisdom?
Wisdom is filtering better. It is knowing what to ignore so that you can focus deeply on what you can actually impact.
It's about taking back control. It's about deciding that you are the author of your own attention, not just a passive consumer of whatever the world throws at you. You are the editor of the movie of your life, not just the audience.
And that leads to that final state we mentioned at the very beginning, JOMO, the joy of missing out. There's a profound joy, a profound peace in realizing you don't need to know. You don't need to have an opinion. You can just be.
I love that. And I want to leave the listener with a final provocative thought, something to really chew on as they hopefully turn off their phone for a bit after this deep dive.
The question is this. If you stopped trying to know everything, if you stopped trying to keep up with every trend, every outrage, every piece of breaking news, what is the one big thing you would finally have the mental bandwidth to master?
That is a huge question. What could you master if you weren't mastering trivia and daily drama?
Exactly. We all have that thing, that project we want to start, that skill we want to learn, that language, that instrument, that relationship we want to deepen. It's waiting for the attention you are currently giving away to the noise.
So be the editor of your own life story. Don't just be the audience. Cut the scenes that don't move the plot forward.
Well said. A perfect place to end.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you on the next one. Stay focused.